This was my free 105 series Toyota Landcruiser, and I got it from a farm. It was abandoned and it was sitting about 400 k's away from here when I first picked it up. There's been a lot I've done to it since then, and there's a lot that's also gone wrong with the car since then. My Landcruiser sat in a shed for nearly 6 years, and combined with that, it nearly has 370,000 k's on it. And because of this, it's really starting to show its age. So let's get started fixing this old girl up. Now, it doesn't matter what type of car you have, even if it's a Toyota, after a lot of adventures, it will need some repairs. Now, the main thing I want to fix on this car is the really ratchet carpets. They're really crusty, they're water soaked, and they're filthy. So I've got some carpet cleaning solution, a brush, and a wet and dry vacuum, and hopefully that'll be able to solve it. If not, then we might need to take some extreme measures to fix it. But as you can see, this is the state of the carpets. It is like a rock. And as you can see, there's also a lot of rust under here that I really want to kind of sand down and cover up, but that's a later problem. For now, it is the carpets. They are filthy. As you can see, look at the difference between these two spots. So this is clearly getting wet. I also need to replace this door handle because as you can see, it's missing and it was completely broken. Another issue that's just appeared out of nowhere is the blinkers that just don't work for some reason. Hazards, nothing, not on the dash, not outside. So that's going to be a problem to figure out. I've also got to replace these battery terminals because as you can see, they are super corroded, and almost every kind of second time you go to start the car, it just doesn't do anything. You just have to take them off and put them back on. So we've got to replace them ASAP. I'm going to start off by giving it a good vacuum because I bought a brand new shop vac, which was like 50 bucks, an absolute steal, and this thing is so good. As you can see, the back isn't too bad, but it's still rock hard and got a bunch of this kind of, I reckon it's almost mold, but it's just crusty, and I want to try and get it out as best as possible. I've got some proper carpet cleaner, a brush, and we're going to hit it with the wet vac once it's all soaked. So as you can see, just after a bit of scrubbing, this is already turning out a lot better than I expected, and we probably don't even have to vacuum it with the wet vac. We can just leave it out to dry. So now that I've cleaned a bit of the back part, I'm going to see how this rear table comes up. I also had no idea that they still sold this, but this is the Start Your Bastard energy drink, and I had it ages ago, but I've completely forgotten what it tasted like, so I picked one up. It's actually really good. If you see these, they're actually pretty good, but they're rarely out super cheap. Now that's come up quite nice. It's still a bit wet, but as you can see, it is a lot less brown and stained than it was previously. So this is definitely working well. But as you can see, the worst part of all this carpet is the driver's seat. Now, as you can see, from about 15 minutes of brushing, it's not perfect, but it's come out a lot better than before. Now we have the absolute cheapest terminals I could find, so we're going to replace the ones on the battery and hope that they fit properly. It's also about to storm right here, so I might get wet doing this. As you can see, they are so corroded. And as you can see, they are the total wrong ones. I should have paid more attention to how this thing actually connects. So we're going to have to just take these off, wire brush them until they're clean. Maybe that'll make a big difference. As you can see, in the span of like 30 seconds, it's just started to absolutely piss down. So we're gonna have to take a rain check on this and get back to it later, unfortunately. So now that we've got a bit of corrosion off the inside of the terminals and a bit on the outside as well, I'm just gonna wrap a bunch of this in some electrical tape so that this doesn't get more corroded, just to be extra safe. Now that's done, we've got the new door handle to replace this one, and hopefully it fits and it's the right one. Shouldn't be a hard job. I think I just have to take off the door card, but it's very easy on these cars. So as you can see by the amount of water coming out of these doors when I open them, I'm pretty sure these seals have failed, and that's why the water is getting into these carpets. So that's another thing we're going to have to replace on this. These worn out old seals, which don't look bad, but I guess they just aren't working properly. As you can see, these are a bit fiddly to get out, but you need to get this out first, and then we can attempt to get the rest out. There is a screw in here I forgot about. Once the handle's out, you can pretty much just pull everything out with these little pop clips around the sides. So if anyone wants to know how to take out a Landcruiser door, pretty damn simple. And there's a few screws in it too. So once you get this out, there's actually one more bolt hiding down there. So don't do what I did and try and force it out. So as you can see, it does have this clear plastic layer to stop water from getting into the door well, which is something you should probably keep on. But for now, we're just going to make a slit in the side. So if we want to re-glue it back on, we still can. But we need to get through here to access two bolts to the door handle. see a 10mm spanner fits in here perfectly, and there's also a bolt on that side which can be a bit trickier to get to. And just like that, we have the old handle almost out. We just got to disconnect it from the wire. Old one is out. You can leave the little plastic on it because the new one has one. The most satisfying part, peeling off this plastic. It almost looks too new for the rest of the car. While it's out though, I'm going to clean a bit behind it. I forgot one very important part, and that is the rubber seal that goes on the outside. So I'll put that on before I do anything else. And just like that, one working door handle installed. Now we've got to do the wiper blades. These are just refills, so hopefully they fit. One of my biggest fears is these swinging back and cracking the windshield, so I'm just going to place them very softly. But before I put the new refills in, I'm going to coat these in some rust prevention because they are already starting to rust. Obviously it's 30 years old, so I don't know why I say already. It's rusting like every other Toyota. So once you've got the old one off and you've got the new one to compare it to, you just snap off the metal things on the new ones to match the length of the old ones and then cut the rubber off. See, they are pretty much spot on. A little bit of extra rubber, but that's okay. Now since the blinkers are completely dead in this car, I'm pretty sure it's because of the new socket that I put on. I think it's shorted out because I didn't actually put a socket in, I just left the wires hanging. What actually happened was my blinker flew out of the car going 110 k's an hour on the highway and almost hit the car behind me. I kid you not, it was hilarious. I thought I'd hit something until I stopped at a petrol station and realized I was missing a blinker. So it actually ripped the whole socket out with it. So I think the two wires that were left loose in there have touched each other a few times and shorted out. These are the blinker wires we need to wrap in electrical tape because they've probably touched together too many times and shorted out. So now we have to find a relay for the blinkers, and in this car I really have no idea, so I'm going to have to go looking. I believe it's somewhere under the dash, and we might have to go fishing for it and end up cutting our fingers, which happens every time. But I'm under the dash right now, so you're really up close and personal, and we're going to find this fuse. Well, I think I found it, which is surprisingly easy, but it's in a very frustrating position. Why on earth, Toyota, would you fucking do that? We're going to see if it makes a sound when I click the blinkers. See, I can't hear a relay click when I press the hazards on at all, but I'm going to put my hand on it and see if it makes a clicking when I press it. Nope, nothing, if that's even the right one. So since that's not making a noise, I'm going to test and see if there's any other fuses that might be causing it, or if there's any other thing that's blown, because I don't want to have to replace that if I don't have to, and I don't have another fuse on me for the flasher can. So I'm gonna have to order that, see if that makes a difference. But in the meantime, I'm gonna go hunting to see if there's any other blown fuses. So here in the passenger side, there is another fuse box. So we're gonna check that any 10 amps aren't blown in there first. Well, I did find an ECU-B fuse blown, and ChatGPT reckons this could be the reason. So let's see if we can swap something else out to see if this fixes it for now, because for some reason I don't have micro fuses, even though I thought I did. So before I go and buy some, I want to check that it was indeed that fuse. I'm probably going to take the cigar one out for now. So now time for the moment of truth. Has that fixed the issue? No, it has not, which is a bummer. Now time to check the ones under the bonnet, because there is one for hazards here. So I've got to take that out and have a look. And believe it or not, this one is blown too. So I'm do it again, swap it with another one and see if that works. So will we get this lucky? I hope so, because that was the hazard fuse. Oh my god, there we go. Believe it or not, we have solved that little issue, and it wasn't the relay, it was just a blown 15 amp. So now to finish off this mini kind of overhaul of my Landcruiser, I've got the fuses to replace the ones that were blown, so I'm going to fix that up. There was also an aircon one that was blown, so potentially that has something to do with why my aircon's not working, although I'm pretty like 99% sure my blower motor is completely gone. I'm going to test it just in case. Also got some chrome polish to polish the bull bar back to its original shape, so we're going to give that a crack. And I've got some trim restore to try and restore the trim, the plastic trim on the sides of the vehicle. I don't have high hopes for this because it hasn't worked that well in the past, but we'll see. We'll give it a crack on this tiny little panel at the back first and see what it does. We've got a little bit of microfiber here. I'm just going to apply it to the trim. Probably have to put quite a lot on because this trim is very faded. It makes an instant difference. So now the question is, will it actually last? I don't think so, but it's better than it being completely black because that looks pretty fake. But if we have to spray it black, I will. So that is the before and that is the after. Not bad. Let's do the rest of the car. Definitely a slight improvement from before, so I would say that it's worth it. Now we've got the fuses to put back in, the one under the passenger side that I took out and the one in the engine bay that I took out. Now I'm going to attempt some of the metal polish on this chrome bull bar, and hopefully it brings it back to life, because I'll show you in a sec how kind of oxidized and faded it is. As you can see, it's pretty faded, so hopefully this polish brings it back to life a little bit. Obviously, the more you polish it, the better it'll look. From about an hour of polishing by hand, it's looking pretty good. But I'm going to keep polishing this off camera because it's about to get dark, and hopefully the outcome is really good. So I hope you can see that you can do a lot to your car even if it's old with not much money. And this has been basically just a DIY overhaul of a lot of stuff that's bugged me for a long time on my Land Cruiser. But you can do any of this at home. This entire video probably cost me less than $100, which is pretty good. All you need is some microfibers and a bunch of basic tools and a little bit of DIY, and you will have a massive improvement on your old car. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.